Welcome back to the Pair Program. I'm your host, Tim Winkler, joined by my co-host, Mike Gruen. Mike, I was reading on my kind of like daily newsletter anyways. Stephen King movie that just came out, The Long Walk, this theater in LA, was hosting a screening where the audience has to walk on treadmills for the entire runtime, which is 108 minutes. And they locked him at 3 miles per hour. And if you stop walking, you get kicked out. It's like a brutal way to just kind of get thrown into a movie screening. But yeah, I've seen this before. They're kind of like turning these movies into experiences. And so quick opener for you. If you were to pair any movie with a live kind of immersive experience, what would you go with?
So it's tough because all the movies I really enjoy are not fun, but like not a place I'd want to necessarily live in. But I don't know, like the first things that come to mind are like fun adventure, like movies like maybe Princess Bride or Conan the Barbarian, something like that, where you're running around and there's a lot of just fun stuff going on. I don't know.
Like a mythical kind of
mythical kind of environment. Yeah. As long as I'm not going to get hacked to death, that's the key.
Yeah, I was thinking through it, and I was thinking like an escape room with Shawshank Redemption. So you kind of like you start off locked in like Andy Dufresne, and you're solving clues just to escape. So. Anyways,
as long as you don't have to climb out through the sewer, I think we're good.
Yeah, that's avoid that final scene. Yeah. Cool. All right. Yeah, that was random banter, but let's give our listeners a little preview for today's episode. So this one is all about making the leap from prototype to production and what it takes to build AI systems that you can trust when, really going into a pressure environment where, you're in production. And so we've seen a lot more teams building with generative AI these days, doing a lot of prototyping, and that's cool to demo, but things get a little messy when it's time to go live into production. And so, we wanted to tackle this and understand what some of those common pitfalls might be, how decisions were made, how confident the outputs are. And so, what needs to happen when things kind of go off script, right? And to help us kind of tackle this, we've got a startup, Meibel, who's been helping another startup growth company called SpecBooks, a construction tech platform, turn a messy document processing problem into a fast, accurate, and explainable system at scale. So to tackle this, we've got two guests from those companies. First is Kevin McGrath, co-founder and CEO of Meibel, a startup building runtime infrastructure to help teams monitor and manage how their AI behaves under pressure. And alongside Kevin is Rob Murray, founder and CEO of SpecBooks, a widely used material sourcing platform in the construction space. Rob kind of leads a product that bridges the gap between distributors, showrooms, and trade professionals, making it faster and smarter to quote and purchase materials at scale. So Kevin and Rob, excited to kind of dive into this case study. Thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Glad to be here.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. All right. Now, before we jump into the main discussion, we start with a segment that we call Pair Me Up. Go around the room, spitball two things that go together. Mike, you lead us off.
You already got the spoiler on this when we chatted yesterday, but fall and fishing. I went fishing over the weekend. It was great. It was nice to not wake up at the crack of dawn in order to beat the heat, and could go out there a little bit later in the day and actually catch some stuff. So that was nice.
Shore fishing?
I did some. Yeah. I mean, that was what I did. Yeah. Most of what I've been doing is shore fishing. Lakes and reservoirs around the Maryland area.
Still waiting on that picture of the proof of the pound.
I sent it to you. I sent it to you in Slack. Yeah, you just check the thread.
Check the thread. left you unread on there with your picture.
Yeah.
Good stuff. I dig that. Cool. I'm gonna go with crabs and crushes, which is just got back from a beach weekend in Ocean City, Maryland. And there were two things that we pretty much had on repeat, and that was crabs and orange crushes. So, anything from crab cakes, crab legs, soft shells, you name it. I mean, Maryland's fantastic for that, but pairing it with a go-to cocktail, the orange crush. So we used a little switch up and went with grapefruit, but It's orange juice, vodka, triple sec, and a splash of Sprite on crushed ice. It's delicious. If you're ever in Ocean City, do yourself a favor and grab some crabs and order a crush. I don't think you're going to regret that. So cool. Let's kick it over to our guest. Kevin, quick intro and your pairing.
So that's great. Yeah. Also, fan of the Orange Crushes. You don't have to go all the way to Ocean City. I live on the bay. I live near the bay, and you can get crabs and Orange Crushes right there off the dockside over near Deal is close to my house. So I've done
nice.
that too. But also playing off the fall theme, I think fall goes great with fire pits. Over the Labor Day weekend, we had the fire pit out because the weather's just absolutely beautiful. You get to sit outside with family, kids get to do some s'mores, you get to have a bourbon, and it's just a beautiful night. So fall nights and a fire pit, to me, are two of the best things that go together, and then the atmosphere that goes around.
Yeah, it sounds great. And if you had to throw one more in there, maybe a little glass of bourbon just to enjoy by the fire. But yeah, fall and fire pits, that's a strong combo. Appreciate you joining us as well. And Rob, quick intro and your pairing.
Yeah, hey, you guys are coming in strong. I got to say, as much as I love, morning coffee and a good workout, I think I'm going to go with a very productive week and a very cold martini with the Fuji's olive. So I think that would be my go-to pairing at this time.
There you go. You going dirty martini?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Dirtier the better.
Awesome. Good stuff, man. All right. Well, let's kind of wrap on that segment and transition into the heart of today's discussion. So, this episode tees up, perfectly as this kind of case study between a tech startup, Meibel, and one of their earlier customers, SpecBooks. And the main themes we want to talk about are going to be the gap in AI adoption and why runtime matters. We'll go deeper into this use case with these two companies, and then the power of empowering humans, not replacing them with AI, was a theme that we wanted to make sure we covered. So let's start with the adoption gap in runtime AI. So Kevin, I want to lead off with you on this. You've talked a lot about how a lot of generative AI projects maybe stall at that prototype stage and very few make it into real production environments. From your experiences and conversations with, CTOs, engineering leaders, what is the biggest barrier that kind of stands in the way of some of those true deployments?
Yeah, I think it's a good question because AI is so accessible to everyone now that everyone can get their hands on it and everyone can start trying it. And when you try it, you realize, hey, I'm getting these really compelling answers that are, 70% of the way there. And you feel that it won't be that big of a leap to get from 70% to 100%. But unfortunately, what AI hasn't replaced is the old 80-20 rule, right? Where 20% of the work gets you 80% of the way down the runway, but then 80% of the work gets you the last 20%. And unfortunately, that still exists even in the world of AI. AI is not just about taking a prompt, throwing it at ChatGPT or Claude or one of these other large LLMs that are out there and getting a response back. A lot of times you're running a company at scale that has maybe tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of documents, maybe terabytes of information. You have customers sending you things that are unstructured and structured, and you want to process them with AI. You quickly realize where the limits on AI are. You run out of context window, and a context window is basically how much data can I shell that an LLM per question. You need to start solving for things like, okay, well, what data am I going to present to the LLM and how am I going to tell the LLM to do that? And then on the other side, if you don't want a human sitting next to every single response that comes to your system, how are you scoring it? And so all these questions start adding up. So you started with this really, really compelling demo. You asked the LLM to do some very basic things for you, and it excited you, and it rightfully so, because it's very powerful. But now you actually want to bet the revenue of your company on it. And so a litany of questions come in that you didn't previously had during the demo. So from our perspective at Meibel, what we do is we help organizations, specifically their product and engineering teams, scale these AI experiences, because there's a lot you have to do it right. not just from an infrastructure stand-up perspective where you need to start running vector databases and graph databases and system checks and different types of metrics and everything else, but also the scoring. And I think the scoring is one of the bigger things that you have to do is understand the fidelity of the outputs that you're getting. And the Meibel platform ties all of that together for a product and engineering team. So they can have a high fidelity response for what they're building.
Yeah, well said. I wanted to make sure that we covered the concept of runtime confidence and expand on what that actually means.
So runtime confidence means as you are giving data to the LLM, you're getting responses back. And are you actually tracking how your inputs and how your context is going in and what the fidelity of the output on the other side is? So what we do at Meibel is we have 14 different pillars that we're judging. These are everything from context grounding to realm of answers and different things that we associate your context with your output. We give that a final confidence score. You can use that single score, or you can use the broken up values from the 14 different attributes that we're measuring on to then decide how you move forward with that response. Are you going to move forward automatically, or are you going to put a human in the loop to validate something? Or you can also make this judgment in aggregate. And you can say, okay, over the last 10,000 runs, how many scores came back in an area that I don't like? How do I validate those, and how do I make my system better moving forward?
Yeah, I want to hear it from your perspective, Rob. So someone that's running a real platform with thousands of users, what was your team missing before you kind of brought runtime AI into the picture?
Yeah, I think your initial question was, you asked, what are the gaps with adoption? And the industry kind of lends itself to a challenge in adopting new technology. But I will say the industry is changing a lot to where it's waking up and understand that, specifically AI in this case is here to stay. So whenever we were working with Meibel, we started off with a small focus group, understood their needs, and we were really solving a tremendous problem whenever it comes to this very time-consuming, kind of archaic process around processing large amounts of data through PDFs whenever you're specifying products for large commercial projects, which can be very costly from a time perspective, from an error perspective. It's also very difficult to onboard new employees and new users. So working with Meibel really allowed us to upskill and close these inefficiency gaps and error gaps, which has been tremendous for our user base, not only from a productivity level, but from a sales level. They can win and capture more leads and jobs by using this platform integrated with Meibel's AI platform, or using SpecBooks integrated with Meibel.
Yeah, it kind of also leads into a, for me, and thinking about AI adoption in different, call it change resistant industries. And, construction, for example, maybe isn't always known for being an early to adopt new tech, especially AI. I'm curious if you experienced any sort of resistance, or what kind of resistance maybe did you see in the industry when it comes to kind of introducing new tools or different workflows?
So as we got the product to a place where we're ready to incrementally scale it, we're very conservative with the way we rolled it out. We did come across several users, several entities that are longstanding clients of ours that were, I don't want to say offended, but we're definitely reluctant to adopt it. They're like, hey, we even had some people in some calls saying, this is going to take my job. And it's absolutely not. It is closing the gaps and eliminating a lot of the frustrating things about your job, the time consuming things about your job. So again, once those users started to adopt the technology, they very quickly learned that, hey, this is giving me the time and energy to go to more productive areas of my job, which ultimately led to more free time, frankly, and it also led to more sales. So again, there was this obtuse position, right? Mm-hmm. But as they learn and accept it, they really realize the value add it's adding to themselves personally as an employee, but also the overall business.
It's interesting because we we're in the process of rolling out something very similar, AI, and there's a lot of resistance. Am I going to lose my job type stuff? And it's like, what we're trying to say is we're just trying to replace your snow shovels with snow plows. Like that's the sort of like, we're just trying to make it so that you can be more efficient. You can spend your time, get more done in a shorter period of time, not replace you with these things. And I think that's resonated fairly well. I'm curious, like, is that something that sort of would resonate with people in your experience?
I also think, and I'm sorry, it was hard for me to hear you, but
Yeah.
accountability, right? I mean, AI does a great job, like I said, of getting the job done. But at the end of the day, a person, you are still accountable for that result. So this just makes you better at producing that result. It's not here to eliminate you from the result. So again, it's nothing but positives, and I can't stress enough how the adverse ratio of increased sales and lack of wasted time has been tremendous for our user base.
Kevin, before we dive deeper into the actual use case between you guys and SpecBooks, what is it that maybe you've seen or similar patterns in other industries that are kind of maybe traditionally resistant to change? Is there like a common threat that maybe finally gets people over the hump and into adoption?
Yeah, I think there's two main pillars out there with AI adoption. I think there's one pillar that allows humans to be more efficient at their job, like a co-pilot, for instance, whether it's a developer co-pilot or whether it's a sales co-pilot or an SDR or things like that. And then those are focused on making individuals better. I think those have a little bit more resistance in the industry because people initially look at them. And there's even some advertisements from companies out there saying, hey, replace your whole sales team with our automated SDRs and things like that. I think some things will get automated, but in a large part, I think AI will create more jobs in aggregate than it replaces. And I think this is like technologies that, from previous times too, right? Like Excel didn't put accountants out of business. And there's a lot of examples about how maybe technology comes in and replaces what some jobs do, but doesn't replace a whole industry. And actually a whole industry can grow up around that technology. So do some jobs get replaced? Some jobs are going to get replaced by new technology. It's just the way it works. In aggregate, though, I think there can be job creation until maybe we hit AGI one day. I do not think we're close to AGI. But when we get close to AGI, then you need to start wondering, okay, is there a bigger thing on the hook? The second pillar are people using AI to drive a workflow or automation in their business that they haven't been able to do before anyway. And there are a lot of examples, for instance, like SpecBooks with Rob and other examples of industries that use a lot of unstructured data that pass hands between all kinds of people in the industry. And that unstructured data sometimes just sits there unprocessed, even by human eyes, doesn't get to see it. And that's just one of many examples of where, hey, in an automation or a workflow process, you can use AI to do things you've never been able to. And that can be job creation of some sort, or at least a revenue enabler of some sort that you never had.
I want to, dive deeper into the use case with SpecBooks, and Rob, if you could maybe paint the picture for us on, what was the challenge that you were facing handling, spec docs and quotes before. Maybe I'll enter the picture.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, this is slow to the tech space, and there's still a lot of processes that are very manual touch that shouldn't be. It's efficiency killers, which a lot of these companies that we work with, they work with small teams. They're limited on resources, and the larger companies are kind of running away, and these smaller companies, it sometimes are kind of being choked off. Just from keeping up because of the lack of efficiency. So whenever Meibel came in, not only with the ability for our users to produce commercial quotes and submittals and things like that, but we've also worked on order email automation. And this is where when a lot of our users are receiving, tens, hundreds of orders a month, And instead of someone manually plugging into their system, we have a webhook with Meibel where it just goes out, grabs the email, grabs the appropriate content from the email, and it automatically inputs an order into their system. So that's freeing up resources to do other jobs that necessarily would not need to be had on the order email or emails that come in through an order. I know I fumbled that answer, but so that's another way in addition to the quotation.
Kevin, from your side, what was it, when you kind of looked under the hood at what SpecBooks was trying to solve, what were some things that jumped out to you that you felt were immediate value adds that you could bring to the table?
Yeah, I think SpecBooks they have a fresh look on a traditional industry, right? Quick adopters of technology and trying to figure out exactly this, like, where is the process getting stuck? Not only because it's manual, but there just aren't enough people to do the job, right? Like, you can't just keep scaling another person. There's not enough people who want to do that job out there. And Rob and SpecBooks were looking to scale a business, compete against the big boys, so to speak, but do it in a way that they can run at the size that they are. But still participate in the big pool with everybody else. And AI, working with their engineering team, we found that, hey, this is a lot of unstructured information that has structure in it. If we can work with you and you can use the Meibel platform to identify the structure, like in a PO, what's the structure of this PO? What's the structure of this RFP? What's the structure of this specification? And they can use that AI to identify that structure and identify how to extract those entities. And then now they can relate it to the business they've been running for 10 years, which is, finding parts and building specification plans and bidding orders and different things. And now they can turn around that to a customer, in minutes instead of days, right? That's a big win. So working with Rob's technical team, who was also extremely willing to figure out, hey, how do we make this business faster and make this better? There was a really compelling use case for AI, and there was a really compelling use case to make the business better, which is the best way to do it, right? You don't want to jump into AI looking for a problem. They had a real world problem they needed to solve, and AI was a great way to solve it.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point too. That leads right into peeling back the onion on the actual implementation. I think a lot of founders might interpret this as it's going to create a lot more work. We're going to probably need to scale up just to handle that kind of influx. What did that look like on your side, Rob, when you were making sure that this partnership was going to be successful? Did you have to hire up? Did you kind of keep the team status quo, use your existing engineers? What did that process look like for you?
Well, the flexibility that Meibel offered, working hand in glove with our team, we didn't have to scale up the team. I mean, it kind of worked right to our normal sprints, workflow, what have you. So not only the short runway they helped us create to get to market is also once you get to market, the adjustments you have to make, right? Because you get a lot of edge cases, especially in our space. You're getting a very vast range of data and content. Okay, how are we going to handle this, especially when we are dealing with those edge cases, and working with Meibel and the tools they provided us and that we collaborate on has made it very easy to handle that and fill it. Because at the end of the day, especially in our space, again, because we do have folks that are reluctant, if it doesn't work, they're going to put it down very quickly. So and look, they understand technology. You're going to have some bumps, but it's the way in which you react to it. And us being able to react, working hand in glove with Meibel to fill those bumps or those edge cases has definitely spoken to our success and our ability to continue to grow the products, which include Meibel.
So what do those kind of actual results look like? Talking through what impact this has had on your team and your customers. I was reading the use case on your on Meibel's website, but if you want to spitball some of those numbers specifically on what kind of value add you saw from the partnership.
Oh yeah. So as far as your bid win ratio, will jump by 250, 300%, which based off the volume doing, that's obviously significant dollars. And then your time spent on each project, drops by 75%. I mean, those are great numbers for any business. You know, when your sales is going up that drastically and your cost to produce those sales is going down, that's a massive win, and it's proven so for all of our clients.
And I'm always curious with an implementation like this, thinking about this long term, right? From the initial integration, kind of maintaining like a feedback loop with how things are going. How do you all? Maybe a question for both of you all. How do you all approach kind of like iterating over time? Kevin, maybe for you, is this kind of like, all right, it's good to go, set it and forget it type of solution, or are you continuously kind of refining, how the system behaves and responds to these different, cases?
I think AI is something that always is going to need tweaking, right? So one of the big differences from AI than maybe your traditional automations is that AI is non-deterministic and AI is going to change, right? You're going to change the data that you're feeding to AI. You're eventually going to upgrade the different models that you use behind the scenes. You might use multiple models for multiple things in a workflow, and they might change over time. When AI sees something, it's going to come up with an answer every time. And that's not necessarily going to be the same answer. And that's the difference between your deterministic outputs and your non-deterministic outputs that we have with AI. So in the old days, what we would do is we would write a unit test. We would say, okay, whenever I input this one thing, I expect this other thing, and I expect that 100% of the time. And if it doesn't happen, you're going to alert me right away. What you have to do with AI is you're going to input something and you're going to get a slightly different answer almost every time it comes out, unless you have a system to either help you normalize the answer or understand out of the scope of answers what is a correct answer. And that's one of the things that we measure on in our confidence score that I mentioned before, is that we measure out of, hey, the realm of possible answers. What is a good answer? Does this align with that? And then furthermore, should it be further refined to be a single answer that shows up in maybe a JSON structure or some sort of format that you can use to automate with later. So AI is very different. You're going to have to watch it. Eventually, you want to watch it in aggregate and not every single answer that's coming out of the system. But you do need someone who owns making sure that the AI system is running correct, some way, shape, or form.
So, Kevin, when you mean looking at it in aggregate, I assume you mean, give it a whole range of questions, look at a range of answers that come back, and then you're sort of saying like, okay, 80% of the answers were within acceptability or 90, whatever your threshold is, and saying like, oh, look, it's actually improved. While it might have gotten some wrong that it used to get right, and now it's getting more right now than it did before. I assume that's what you mean by looking at it in aggregate.
And I think you have to understand that AI is not always going to give you the 100% answer every time. So what do you do? When the confidence score is low? Do you stop it? Do you run it again? Do you put it in front of a human? Do you go use a different model? Right? There has to be a lot of questions about that. And then our customers have different use cases, right? So some of them want to see the outputs in aggregate. So they'll want to run 10 to 100,000 of these things. And then maybe not eyeball, but you want to take a certain percentage of those, like 3% error rate, or how much percentage fell under a certain threshold. And then how do we go back and do that? Some of our customers want to do that to test and build the platform, but they never want an answer going to a customer that's below a certain threshold. So they're not willing to see what it's in aggregate live. They want to see the aggregate in test, and then when they go out to customers, they want to block anything under a certain threshold getting out. So you want to handle those in certain ways, different industries, different use cases, different things. But yeah, how you plan to use AI and how you plan to measure AI are two very, very important things.
Yeah, maybe leading more into like customer success on side of things, because we signed a sales AI partner earlier this year, and we had a designated customer success person that had at least a once, twice a week, maybe a lot more, maybe in the early stages of just onboarding and ramp up, that was just constantly tuned into our account, knowing our strengths and weaknesses, how much our team was adapting to the tool versus not maybe getting the max use out of it and max value out of it. Is that part of every engagement at Meibel? Is there a a customer success person that's dedicated to every account with what kind of cadence that check-in is with the customer?
Yeah, so we work hand in hand. We usually work on big projects, and we always have someone dedicated to the account, right? And sometimes it takes that dedication. Sometimes the team you're working with doesn't necessarily know how to give feedback to AI in the correct way, or they don't know what a certain parameter coming back in the system is. And we're there to help the customer. We're not only a console or only an API with only docs. There are people here. We use AI ourselves, and we'll use AI to help our customer ourselves. But we also have real people to help you use AI. We're looking for people to use AI at scale, and sometimes at the bottom of that are still humans doing things at the end of the day to make sure that the scale part works correctly. Right.
Yeah, I want to make sure we kind of highlight a little bit more of this, almost like this human in the loop, with any sort of like implementation or any sort of engagement with AI, empowering the user, if you will. I think that was one of the ways that we put it on our discovery call, and that's something that we talk about a lot on this podcast is the human side of technology. And it's obviously a top of mind topic with a lot of folks, running that question of whether AI will replace their job or not. So just with this use case specifically, and Rob, you kind of alluded to the fact that, you weren't needing to hire up additional engineers, as a part of this partnership. But in our discovery call, you also kind of like alluded to that it upskilled them. Can you maybe expand on that, on, how this is kind of like beefed up or propped up your team with, being savvy with the implementation of an AI piece of your business?
In regards to the engineering team or our users?
I was referring to the engineering team.
Yeah, so I would love to answer that question, but that's outside of my scope. That'd be Adam Pippin. I'm on the business side. I could talk to you all day long about how it's improved our user experience. Yeah. So I do know that in reference to the integration and ongoing work that we do with Meibel, that out of all the objectives on our roadmap, that those objectives move the quickest across sprint. Now, to take a technical deep dive on that, again, that's outside of my lane. That I don't really want to even try to, massage that question.
Right. I think you're excited with that.
Well, Kevin, maybe for you, was it intentional, kind of, from a product design perspective when building Meibel, to augment human judgment rather than automate it away?
Yeah, well, I think there has to be a human in the loop somewhere. Someone has to tell the AI whether it's being correct or not. Now, what type of person that is might change. So you have technical implementers of AI, and they're going to implement how the AI works, how it's structured, what's going to be monitored, how things work at scale. Who's giving the feedback to your AI? That could be a technical implementer, someone from your engineering team. That could be a subject matter expert that you have in your organization. But the short answer is yes. There has to be a way for someone to give feedback on what's correct and what's not, even just to get started. And then again, alluding back to before, in aggregate, you're going to need a way to say, yes, the scoring is working correctly, because the scoring has to become yours. There is no general score out there in the world where 90% means 90% across every industry and every AI use case. When you come in and the system starts scoring and you start getting these metrics and data back, you need to make that number yours. Your threshold might be 70 or 85 for a certain experience, while someone else builds something and it might be a completely different number. The most important thing is that you're getting a consistent metrics back and a consistent way of scoring, so that that human on the other side can come back and go, okay, I'm going to focus on this area. All the 5% of answers that this system produced that we were not comfortable with, I'm going to give feedback on why those answers were not good enough. And then the idea behind that is that the AI will continue to get better, right? Get better and better over time. But you do have to have someone giving that feedback. That's just the way it works.
Yeah. I mean, we have a lot of guests on the show that come from, defense or national security, critical infrastructure kind of verticals like that, where, keeping a human in the loop is a non-negotiable. Like you need to have somebody in there to make sure, with some of those decisions that are being made that, you've got a QA kind of process there that's making sure it's not just,
and you might
going off on
automate
its own.
something all the way up to the last step. And the last step is human review. And that still might save you thousands and thousands of hours worth of work to get to that point. Or you might be doing a process that you never did before.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, more than looking at situations that say like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to automate what this person did, is like, what work am I not doing that I wish I could do as an organization, and how AI can help me there, right? There are probably so many things as a business that you're not operating on today because you don't have the capacity to go out and hire 300 more people to go do it. Well, AI opens up those opportunities that, hey, I have a team. I can dedicate a certain percent of my time to helping me do something I never thought possible for my business. Why not do that instead of thinking about how do I squeeze out the extra 3% of efficiency over a person, over and over and over again? Like, build new paths. And I think that's one of the most exciting things about AI is the ability to go out and do things that you haven't been able.
Yeah, it's a great point. That opportunity cost that's lost from having your team, especially if it's leadership, right, really consumed in the weeds, when AI can quickly open up some of that bandwidth for them. Mike, did you have anything else you wanted to touch on prior to we closing out at the final segment?
I did a little bit with you were talking about QA and you were saying the human in the loop. I'm curious, do you also look at the negatives, like things where it's scoring really, really low, and look at the opposite and say like, hey, is this really a bad answer, or what, or because I imagine it's not just looking at the good answers to make sure they're good.
Right. Yeah. You got to look at it. You always want to look at the deltas, right? Like, what's my 95th, 97th percentile, 99th percentile, things like that. You want to look at it in both directions. It's kind of fun. Like, if it's saying, when AI says it knows something correct, but someone obviously knows it's wrong, you usually get feedback on that right away. Right? Like,
yeah.
Like when if something outputs that AI thought was correct and it's wrong, unfortunately, that's one of the ones that you usually hear about very fast. Some of the scarier ones are when AI is not fully correct and neither side kind of knows what's going on. And so highlighting those and having a robust scoring mechanism so you can see, okay, why was this answer the way it was? Was it because of context grounding? Was it because of my context windows? Was it because of the sparse and dense vectors that were matched in the context and the retrieval, right? All of these different things, you kind of have to, pull all that together to understand. So yes, I try and oversimplify some of the examples sometimes, but you're exactly right. Like there's a scope of things that you want to look for, both good and bad, on the other side.
Cool.
Yeah, and I just wanted to, ask a couple of quick hitters on, Meibel, from a size of the company, how many employees, funding, stuff like that, just before we wrap into the final segment.
Sure. So we just announced our $7 million priced round that happened a few months ago. That's allowed us to scale to 20 employees, mostly out of the Northern Virginia area, around DC. We're doing both government and commercial. Commercial is the lion's share of customers that we have right now, but also working with government partners and opportunities as well. Naturally, being out of the DC area, it's definitely one of our pipelines as well, and we're looking to grow with great customers like SpecBooks over the next following years.
Awesome. Yeah, excited to continue to track your all's growth. I know it's right in our backyard, so was always perked up when I see a local startup that's catching some attention and creating opportunities locally and solving some interesting problems. So kudos on that round and this kind of continued growth. And then Rob, quick hits on SpecBooks. Just where are you guys headquartered? A little bit on the size, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, so we're based out of Florida. We have roughly 35 employees. We've been around for about 12 years now, completely bootstrapped, no private equity, gives us some flexibility, but we've also been profitable. So pretty proud to get this far without going that route, but that's not to say that we won't, probably will when the timing's right. We service about 10,000 clients in North America. That's throughout Canada and the greater 50 states. And looking forward to what's next. Also looking forward to growing with Meibel. There's a lot of, we touch in on just a couple tools that we're working with Meibel on. But there's so much more because of our vast audience and all the different needs. I'm really excited to focus on the consumer experience and more of a in-store shopping experience. A lot of people think in-store is dead. It's not, especially in our space because of the look, feel, and touch of all the products, fixtures that are being sold. And I think that with Meibel's assistance and the direction we're going, we're definitely going to be able to enhance that experience from the sales perspective and the customer side. So I'm excited about things to come.
Cool. Yeah, I got a lead for you too. A buddy of mine runs a construction company out here, and I was like, before the episode, I was like, "Hey, you've heard of SpecBooks?" He's like, "No, what do they do?" And so I just passed it over. So
okay, I look forward to that.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, let's wrap up the main discussion and close with a fun little rapid fire Q&A segment we call the 5-second scramble. Really just quick hitters, some business, some personal. Mike, why don't you start it off with Rob and then I'll close with Kevin.
Sounds good. All right. Here we go. Rob, if SpecBooks were an animal, what animal would it be?
An eagle. I think because it can see all, it touches a lot of things, and it has a very large territory.
Cool. What roles are you hiring for in the next 6 to 12 months?
All things engineering. We're right now in the process of almost doubling our engineering team, and with that, obviously your sales team is to follow. So specifically. We're right now looking for SRE, a couple back end positions, front end. I mean, really the whole thing, and then senior level sales associates between now and the end of the year. So we're in growth mode.
Is there an emerging market or sector you think is underrated?
Emerging market or sector that I think is underrated in reference to our space or just in general?
Either way, dealer's choice.
That's a tough one. Emerging market sector I think is underrated. I guess I do have to say the construction space. People don't realize that the construction space is really the one of the pillars of our economy. And a lot of people, I think, take it for granted. There's a lot of hardworking folks in our space that do a lot for this country. And I think it should be appreciated and valued and protected. And I love to be part of the technology arm of that's contributing to the growth of the construction space. And I guess maybe also helping put a little extra sheen on the space, right? Because I feel like it is kind of forgotten at times. And I think technology can definitely help enhance that image.
I can tell you data center construction's hot, real hot out here. Yeah, Loudoun County.
Yeah. Yep. What was your first car?
My parents bought it, obviously. It was a BMW 318i.
Nice.
Oh, dang. Nice.
I was spoiled. I should not have received that car. It did horrible things for my ego. Do not buy your kids a BMW.
Nice. Is there a charity or a cause that's near and dear to you?
We normally donate to there's a foundation called the Destin Charity Wine Auction that focuses on the NICU, which is basically a baby hospital. And I have 2 kids, so children's health are so innocent. I feel like that should be a focus for everyone.
And last one, what was your dream job as a kid growing up?
A lawyer. I wanted to be a lawyer. And then I took the LSAT. I aced that, but then I just realized exactly how much reading entailed to be a lawyer. And I was like, I'm out. Actually, also when I was in school, I was going through graduating undergrad in 2007. I actually had to depart from my education and go straight to help my family. So that kind of derailed that as well. But come along. I guess, every kid likes to argue. So I thought that was in my wheelhouse. But reality sunk in.
There you go. All right.
Good stuff. All right, Kevin, you ready?
All right. I guess so. Let's see.
All right. If Meibel had a mascot, what would it be?
Meibel had a mascot, what would it be? That's interesting. Mascot. I don't know. I guess we use a robot as kind of our mascot right now. We have like these little robots that we hand out at all of these conferences. So I'll have to go with that because that's the thing that we identify ourselves with when we hand stuff out. And it's AI based, and we do help people kind of automate and push things through. So I'll say our little Meibel robot that we hand out at all our conferences, that's kind of our de facto mascot.
There you go. That's fitting. What's one word that you would use to describe the culture at Meibel?
I think selfless. I think everybody at this stage of a startup is here because they're really excited about what you're building and the goal. And, you have everyone bought into like kind of building this dream. And this stage of a startup is just so exciting to see people come in and just want to build the thing for the customers, and kind of like the selfless attitude everybody has. Like, you get in, there's no politics, there's no mess, there's no anything. It's just people coming in and everybody working towards the same goal. I just love that atmosphere.
Yeah, that's a great answer. What are some of the roles that you guys are hiring for over the next 3 to 6 months?
Yeah, we'll be looking for engineering, sales, marketing, you name it. We're a growing company. We are, hitting our growth curve. So 6 months and out, literally almost every position of the company. But more near term, we're always looking for great engineers. And I think, as like Rob said earlier, with more product and more engineers, always has to come more salespeople on the other side to kind of fill the bucket. But also everything in between, we're going to be looking for over the next year. So yeah, we're excited. We're in that growth phase where we got to start filling most parts of the business.
Nice. What's the first job that you've ever had?
First job was a paperboy. Way back when. So people used to get these pieces of paper delivered to their doorstep back in the day. You remember? I used to be the person who would chuck it from my bike onto the doorstep. And then my first job, I needed a work permit for. I was I worked trash for the Renaissance Festival. So I used to just pick up and move trash all over the place. So those are my first 2 jobs.
Nice. I've got the Nintendo game visual, just kind of like dodging and weaving the dogs that are running across the yard.
I played that game, and I would actually go out and try and mimic some of those things in the game. Like while I had a bike with a big basket on the front of it, and I would take those papers and I would chuck it. And every now and then, I didn't break too many flower pots, but I broke a couple of note.
Just right through the window.
Yeah, right.
What's a charity or corporate philanthropy that's near and dear to you?
My wife donates to Susan G. Komen every year, so that's a big one. We do try and rotate through some local charities. There's a halfway house here in Southern Maryland that we've donated to and made food for multiple times. I would say I tend to like going towards more local charities. If there's a charity local, it's really hard for them to get the funds. Like, nothing against the Susan G. Komens, but they got NFL players advertising who they are and stuff. So if you can find a local charity that means something to you, or you want to help out with, I think those are great to go find. Nice.
Best concert you've ever been to?
Best concert I've ever been to. All right. I'm trying to think. I was at, this isn't the best, but I just went to one. So I'm just going to say this.
Throw it out.
I went to a Weird Al concert just last month. All right. And I had a great time. I don't know that it's the best concert that I've ever been to, it was silly. I liked Weird Al growing up. I never saw him live growing up. It's not a concert I even thought about seeing live growing up. Went with a few friends who also grew up. We all knew at least, a bunch of Weird Al songs. He put on a great show. It was a great show. It was all people from our generation. I had a really good time. I don't know what my best concert is, but I'll have to say, like, I don't know. Take a flyer if Weird Al's coming to your neighborhood. Take a flyer, go to the concert. It's a really fun time.
Did they play Amish Paradise? I think that was one of
absolutely.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
All right, last question. We're going to get a little abstract with this one. If you had one day left to live, would you spend it with Morgan Freeman or Denzel Washington?
Oh, all right.
It's pretty deep.
One day left to live. I don't know. I guess I'll go Denzel. I don't know. I'll go Denzel. Morgan Freeman's lights, like his voice might, like, if it was one day left to live, like Morgan's voice might like kind of like put you at ease, like going into that moment. But I think like Denzel will get just hyped up to like go for it. Like Denzel would be like, yeah, we're doing this.
That's right. That's right. You're going out guns blazing. I mean,
we're going out with it all. So I'll go Denzel on that.
Training Day style.
That's right. American Gangster says a lot about somebody. So I like that side of you, Kevin. I appreciate that answer.
Definitely.
That's a wrap, guys. I wanted to thank you for joining us. Always great to get a good perspective from a customer and a provider, and kind of especially like playing that into the AI and the real world, right? I know that it's a space that's moving very quickly. So I love hearing these kind of case studies, and excited to watch both of your all's businesses kind of keep pushing forward with technology. So thanks for joining us on the Pair program.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us.